Hello class, this is Faracisa, and today for my persuasive presentation, I am going to give the argument for why college football players should be paid a wage and not just receive the quote unquote free education that they are getting based off of their athletic scholarships. The first and most important thing to remember here is that we have kids who are between the ages of 18 and 23, and they are more or less spending way more time practicing, participating, playing, working out in their respective sports than they really do in school. They take between 12 to 14, 16 credit hours a semester, which is true. It's like any of us other students. But on top of that, they have to play their sport and they have to practice many hours throughout the week. An NCAA study found that most of the time, even though there are regulations to how long these student athletes can participate in their sport, they end up spending more time a week playing their sport than they really should be, and even more time on their sport than they do on their academics. Although they're listed as student athletes first, many of them will tell you that that's their job. Their job is to play that sport for that university, and school comes second. And this can really be seen in how much what we're doing in terms of paying college coaches and all the money that is in there in college sports and what the student athlete's receiving. The student athlete just receives their academic scholarship. They get a scholarship to whatever university they go to, and they get housing and they get their meals paid for and their books. Now, they did add a stipend to that, but even when you add the stipend into their overall payment, it still barely comes out to enough of what the cost of attendance is to a lot of those universities. Some universities, like at the University of UCLA, the total package of what a student athlete receives in terms of their athletic scholarship actually comes up to be a couple $1,000s short of what the university's cost of attendance is posted on their website. And when we have coaches like Jim Harbaugh, Urban Meyer, and Nick Saban who are making north of $7 million a year, and these student athletes are pretty much getting nothing, and they can't even profit off of any of it at all. There was the case at Ohio State where a couple of players ended up selling and signing memorabilia for tattoos, which, if you really think about it, that's not that big of a deal. They just signed some memorabilia and some guy gave them free tattoos. But they were all busted by the NCAA because they were deemed to be an impermissible benefit. And that is kind of just ridiculous when, if you really think about it, it's these student athletes who are the ones who are able to pack 100,000 seat stadiums every weekend and making these $1 billion TV deals just for college football alone. And the head coaches are making millions of dollars. I believe the average right now is about $1.5 million for an NCAA Division I head coach. A lot of the defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators make north of $500,000 a year, and assistant coaches can make upwards to $250,000 a year. And these student athletes aren't really given anything. Yes, they do get quote unquote free education, but when there's no time at all during the day to get and use that free education and actually work towards it, then is it really a form of payment to them? Or are we just saying to them, hey, we want you to play these sports, go out and pack these stadiums and make us millions of dollars? And yes, you do get a free education, but that's what the cost is going to be for you to play us in all these sports, is that you're never going to have enough time to do these classes. And then we're going to put you in a bunch of, kind of BS, classes that aren't really ever going to apply to you in the rest of your life, and it doesn't really count towards your degree, and your degree isn't really going to matter at the end of it because you got it in some area that you never really wanted to study anyways, but the coursework came out into a really good way that you can always be playing football and you barely have to spend any time on class. So yes, in a certain way, yeah, they are getting paid. And, the argument has always been that they get a free education. And a lot of Americans aren't in that boat. They have to take thousands of dollars of student loans year in and year out to pay for their education, while these student athletes are getting everything for free. And that may be true, but if you think about it, the University of Michigan brings in roughly $80 million a year on college football alone. College football pretty much pays for every other sport at the University of Michigan. So, yeah, they are getting a free education. You are having to take a bunch of loans, but they're also making $80 million a year for the university, and you're not making anything for them. You're just a student and you're paying. And yes, it's tough and it's rough, and I understand that. But when what you're bringing to the university doesn't make the university any money, then you can't really say, oh, how can they get a free education? It's not fair to us, when you're not really bringing anything to the university. The other end of it too is the billions of dollars in TV deals through the networks like ESPN, ABC, Fox. The universities and the athletic conferences like the Big Ten, Pac-12, SEC, they continue to make millions and millions of dollars off of the student athletes and the products that they're presenting, which is college football or college basketball. And when there's three different levels of people who are making millions and billions of dollars off of the student athletes, being the coaches and the universities. The athletic departments are coupled with that, so you have all of the college stuff. Then you have these TV networks like ESPN and ABC who are also making millions of dollars showing all of America these games, even nationwide and across the world. And then you have the NCAA themselves, who are a quote-unquote nonprofit. So they can't even be taxed by the U.S. government, and they bring in billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they don't really do anything. All they do is they regulate college sports. They tell student athletes and athletic departments what they can and cannot do, and it's even gotten to the point where it's so silly of some of the things that they've done, that before universities couldn't give more than 3 meals a day to their student athletes, which is, yeah, that's fair, but they could give them snacks. But if you put a cream cheese on a bagel, the NCAA considered that to be a full meal. And if a university were to give a student athlete a cream cheese and a bagel and didn't count it as a full meal, then there would be possible NCAA sanctions off of that. And these guys almost literally don't do anything except for facilitate these billion-dollar TV deals for the universities and for the athletic conferences. And there's the ones who are saying that student athletes can't be paid. So I think it is about time. There's obviously a bunch of different arguments on every single side. If you really look at it, there's only two sports who make money, and that's men's basketball and men's football. And every other sport loses money for the universities. But that doesn't mean that those student athletes don't work as hard as the football athletes or the basketball athletes do. They all deserve to bring in some income from this. And it is about time that we do change that. And we should see it coming in the near future. Thank you and have a great day.